might be the greatest rap beef of all the time, playing out right now. Mo and Katie did a great job trying to explain this to all of us yesterday.
Yeah, so it's a lot, but at the end of the day, to summarize it in the smallest way I can, Drake and Kendrick are the two biggest artists in the world right now in hip hop in their primes, and it's been a beef that has been lingering for years. And then eventually, Drake invited Kendrick onto a song. He denied it. He decided he wanted to go against Drake as opposed to team up with him. And since then, they have been making records back and forth at each other for like the past month now. And it's been the most beef that we've seen in hip hop ever. It's been the most songs ever created in a beef for hip hop ever. And it's now widely being considered the greatest hip hop beef of all time.
Now, I mean, from my perspective, one of the greatest beefs obviously was East Coast, West Coast back in the day, in the 90s when we were, when I was younger. I don't ever remember that being more about like songs. I felt like that was taken more to the streets, whereas this has been really taken more to the studio, right?
That's the difference. That beef back then kind of started in the streets, and then it led into the studio and then went back into the streets. So it was a lot more volatile than this beef. This beef started off more as who's the better artist, who's the better rapper, who can create the better music. And so that's the difference in the two.
And the thing to focus on here is that it's gotten very, very personal. They are digging into each other's backgrounds and mentioning and bringing up the nastiest accusations that are going on in each other's lives, which is really putting Drake at a disadvantage.
Yeah, so it started with who is the better rapper, who makes better music. Somewhere in this beef, and it really started with Kendrick, it led from that to both accusations on both sides that are really, really, really bad. And on Drake's end, Kendrick has accused him of being a pedophile. He's accused him of hiding another child because he was already caught hiding his first child. And then on the other end of that, Drake is accusing Kendrick of beating his, what we thought was his wife, but is actually not his wife, allegedly, to the point where she was actually bloody, and they had to hire a crisis management team to come in and clean this up so that he wouldn't lose his image.
Ray Donovan. They called Ray?
Yeah, right. So this is like really now escalated into trying to get each other canceled. This is not like who's going to be number one and who's going to be number two, because the accusations that are being thrown out now can get you canceled. And people have been trying to do that to Drake for who knows how long. You start throwing words around like pedophile, that's going to do it right there. So there was a TikTok going around yesterday from an attorney, ANDR3W on TikTok, that said, y'all are losing sight of what's important in this whole beef.
I'm going to be honest with you guys. As an attorney, the reactions I'm seeing to the Kendrick Lamar Drake beef, absolutely wild to me. Absolutely boggles the mind. I can't even fathom it. All right, are you listening? Are you actually paying attention to what Kendrick is saying here? This isn't Biggie saying I fucked your bitch. This isn't Nas accusing Jay-Z of doing Tybo. All right, these are serious, credible allegations that Aubrey Graham is routinely committing some of the most heinous crimes the human mind can even conceive of against children. And you're dancing to it. You're laughing about it. The question isn't how is Drake going to recover from this? The question is how is Drake going to keep his BBL from sitting in a federal penitentiary for the rest of his life? Okay? These are violations of international laws. These are the type of allegations that get you visited by some very grim-looking men who have stared into the abyss and know where you hide things there. And I know because I've worked with them. And the fact that Kendrick hated Drake for years and had evidence that he was doing this and sat on it until he was pushed to release it implies an industry-wide conspiracy to protect Drake, to allow him to continue to commit these crimes and to victimize others because he is an industry leader, because he is a cash cow. People are saying, oh, this is a distraction from other things that are bigger. This is huge. And the fact that Kendrick made a catchy song about it is distracting you all from how big this actually is.
So I agree, actually, with what he said. I had to step away from social media and the opinions about the beef because it stopped being about who's making better music a long time ago. At this point, with what he said about Kendrick, I completely agree. I hate the fact that this beef has turned into them trying to assassinate each other's character as opposed to just simply saying who's the better writer. Because if this is true and Kendrick knows this, that's a great point. Why has he sat on this all this time? And now you've waited until it was a great opportunity for you to bring it to the light.
It was a trap.
Right.
He's been waiting all these years.
Which that would obviously cause some questions. And if it's not true and you don't have receipts to prove that Drake actually is a pedophile, then that's not something you just say to win a rap beef. And on the other end, I think it's the same thing with Drake. If you do have this evidence that Kendrick has been behind the scenes, he's claiming to be this family man, and behind the scenes, he's beating up his girlfriend, he's not being there for his kids, and his image is fake, then why have you sat on this all this time and never brought it up? And if it's not true, then you also should not be saying these accusations just to win a rap beef. So we really don't know what's true, and I feel like that's the part that is getting lost in the fact that we're just finding this so entertaining.
But in a rap beef like this, does it have to be true, or can you just say things to cut? Just to be nasty? Like, is there validity to the accusations? Like, is this truth, or is this just art trying to cut each other down?
That's the question. And if you separate rap battle from hip hop, it's different. In rap battle, it doesn't necessarily have to be true.
Yeah.
Like you're just trying to, that's the point of it.
It's like your mama jokes.
Exactly. But in this, with this being hip hop and on such a mainstream platform, and obviously these two artists are like really big names in the industry, it's subjective on what people feel about that. But I personally feel like you should not say it if it's not true. Just to win a rap beef, to assassinate somebody's character to this level, you should be held accountable for that.
I saw some more ripple effects yesterday. I don't know if you saw this on Baller Alert yesterday, that a white professor, I think, at Princeton was making some comments, and then a woman says, hey, this is not a white boy problem. This is our cultural thing. Stay out of this. And then it got racial.
So it's a black professor from Princeton, and DJ Vlad is the guy that she was having this debate with. And DJ Vlad is he's a hip hop journalist, has been for years, but a lot of the black community don't necessarily like him because they feel like he brings black artists on and then he tears them down. And so they call him the feds because he's always asking them incriminating questions, and that's how he's made his living. So she was saying that you're always having an opinion about the black community and you don't know exactly what you're talking about because you haven't lived as a black man. And his response to that was, well, you're a professor at Princeton saying on Twitter that I should not be involved in this simply by the color of my skin. So it turned into a debate of who was right or who was wrong in that scenario.
Have other beefs in the past had the same kind of cultural ramifications that end up going in all sorts of different directions other than just the beef itself?
Not really, because I think social media plays a big part in where this is going. That all those other rap beefs didn't have social media back then, so it was a little different. Now, I mean, you got the entire world doing research, giving opinions. You don't know what's facts. You don't know what's just alleged.
Have you seen the accusations coming out about Drake's dad?
What? No.
Yeah, there's been accusations.
I missed this.
What are those now?
Yeah, I'll have to pull them up because I don't want to speak off the top of my head. But there are women accusing Drake's dad of grabbing their ass and stuff like that.
I mean, even your grandmother was texting me yesterday.
My grandmother literally texted me and said, Reese, who you got, Kendrick versus Drake? Because the BBC is telling me there's a beef. I'm like, what?
The Bert Show.